You're listening to the Quoted Podcast Season 16. Now, let's get on to today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Quoted Podcast. I'm joined here today with Annie Rose. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I'm also very excited, and thank you for saying yes.
Of course. I'm so excited. I love being on podcasts. I think podcasts are so fun because I've always wanted to start one, but then I realized that it's a lot of work and that I couldn't do it myself. So this is like I'm getting to live my dream vicariously through you.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, I thought because it's your first time on the podcast, you could introduce yourself and let us know some of your favorite things to do.
Okay. So my name's Annie and I'm a YouTuber. I've been on social media since I was about 10 years old. Along that journey, I fell in love with a lot of other things. So I make music, I do photography, I work at a coffee shop. I kind of just have a lot of creative interests, and I'm still going strong on my YouTube channel. So yeah, I have been homeschooled my whole life. I have 5 siblings. We live in Texas. We are kind of like the anomaly of the city that we live in because we're like the only people who are doing social media. So it's been an interesting life. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have some fun questions for us today, and I think I'm just gonna get into it. So, because this is called the Quoted Podcast, I do a quote every episode, and I usually do them at the end, but I decided to do them at the beginning this time. So I picked one that kind of reminds me of like your music. And also I think I heard you talk about C.S. Lewis one time. So I thought this one was really cool. And it says, God always allows us to feel the frailty of human love, so we'll appreciate the strength of His. So, what do you think about this quote, and what does it mean to you when you read it?
I love C.S. Lewis. I love him so much. He's so awesome. Everything he writes just makes me like sit and want to think about it forever. It's just so awesome.
Yes.
I love this quote a lot. I think that it's honestly really relevant to I feel like what I'm learning in my life right now. I feel like there are limits to human beings and how much we can accomplish, how long we can do things in our own strength, and just how like unconditionally we can love other people. Like there's always a limit. And I think for me, I've always been a very like perfectionist type of person, and so it's frustrating for me when I reach my own limits. I think especially in music, I struggle and I mess up sometimes, and that sometimes can be really hard for me because I'm like, no, like it should be so easy. But I think that that's when you realize, when you reach a point where you know this is not something that you can accomplish anymore, and this is not something that you can do in your own strength, then you have to look to the Lord. It's a little bit unfair for him that we always wait as humans like so long to go.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I feel like he designed us that way very intentionally. And just as far as love goes, like it's very hard to love people unconditionally all the time. And so I think when we receive that and we realize, oh, you're not loving me right, or when you are that person, you're like, I'm not loving this person right, I think that's when you realize like God is so much bigger than us, and like he knows so much more. And just for him to do that for us to realize how much we need him is just him in his grace. And like we should be so thankful that we have such limits, because that shows us that we need him, and that's the most important thing that we could learn while we're here on earth.
I completely agree with that. I was going to say like the same thing, because when I look at that quote, I remember that sometimes it's so hard to love people, and I like remembering that God loved us first, and that no matter what we do, he still loves us. Like it just reminds me how unconditional his love is, and that I can still love others even if it's hard. So, yeah, I love that answer, and I really love this quote. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you've written a few songs, and your first song was I Think You're Lying, and I was wondering what or who inspired you to start writing songs in 2019?
So I've always had this need to like listen to music and really, really listen. Like it's one thing to listen to music, but it's one thing to like sit and analyze it. And I feel like since I was little, I've always had this part of me that was like, I have to put on a song right now and I have to sit and listen to it and analyze it. And then
Mhm.
I've always had this need to sing. Like anytime that I'm sick or if you ever go to like a Bible camp or something and you're there for like 3 4 days, you can't really sing. Like there's nowhere really to sing. You're watching sermons
Yeah.
or whatever, and then when you're sick, you lose your voice. And those kind of scenarios have always frustrated me out of my mind. And so at the time that I wrote this song, I had a lot of friends who were already writers, and it was kind of just the atmosphere of the community that I was in. And so, bringing these two parts of me, like I love to listen to music, I love to sing, and then also I have a very just like natural, what's the word, ability to write. I've growing up, like I was always good at English. I'm terrible at math and science. And so I kind of realized like, okay, I love writing. I love singing. These are the people that I'm friends with. They're all writing music. I think I want to try this. And so I kind of just made the decision, like, I'm just going to try writing a song. I don't know if I'm going to hate this or not. And writing that song was very interesting. I did have a lot of help on it. I had a lot of co-writers and stuff. And so it
Mhm.
wasn't as like organic and independent as my writing is now, but I think even getting a glimpse of like this is what it's like to write a song, record it in a booth, which is such a surreal experience. I realized this is really cool. This is really awesome. I'm totally releasing this and I'm totally making 1,000 more songs. So, um, yeah, I think it was just the influence of like what I knew I already loved and then the influence of like the people around me.
Okay, so um I just wanted to say I really love your music, and I it was so fun when you released I Think You're Lying, and the music video for that song is the coolest. Like when it shows like you with yourself and like you put your hand like this. It's so fun. So I'm really glad that you gave it a go and started releasing music because it's really good.
Thank you. That's really sweet. The music video was so fun to shoot. Like it was a really cool idea with the other person and like that cool perspective. And so when
Mhm.
we saw it all finished and worked out, I was like, I couldn't even believe it. Like it was so awesome. But thank you so much. I'm really glad I started music too.
Yes. Okay, so after Without Thinking came out, you didn't release music for a while. So, what do you like more about the music you're writing now versus the music you first released? And like, what do you think is different about it?
So that was such an interesting like gap of time. I like very intentionally decided that I wasn't going to write anything. Um I had been on this high of like, I know how to write songs. This is so awesome. I'm going to write all these songs. And my approach was like, obviously, every song that I finish, I have to record. And I'm learning so much more about music. And I know for certain that that is not a good approach because just because you finish a song doesn't mean that it's the song that should see the light of day. And so I basically ran
Mhm.
into this situation where I realized I would immediately outgrow the song that I just recorded and released. And so I was feeling this stress because I was like, I don't like the song that I just released only 2 weeks ago. I hate the song I just released a month ago or whatever because I
Mhm.
was continually growing and I hadn't done a lot of time developing what I wanted to write and how I wanted to write it. And I knew that I could do better with the stuff that I was releasing and I knew that I there was just more
Oh
out.
no. I have no idea what happened to the clip where I asked the next question, so here it is. After Without Thinking came out, you didn't release music for a while. What do you like more about the music you're writing now versus the music you first released? And what do you think is different about it?
Okay. So basically, at the beginning of 2020, I decided I am not going to release music. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'm going to ever pick it back up again, but I need to lay down this idea that I am going to come out with every song possible and it's going to be this huge, massive thing every time when my heart is not behind this music. And
Mm-hmm.
so within that time, a lot of life happened. Like, I made a bunch of new friends. I got plugged into a community. I kind of stepped slightly away from social media. I mean, I was still posting, but my brain was a lot more focused on just learning and life and education and like the things that I feel like I had missed out a little bit on with my busy childhood. And what I really loved was that in that time, even though I said I wasn't going to be releasing music, I was writing all the time. And it was such a special time for me in my life because I realized that I just love writing music for the sake of writing music. And
Mm-hmm.
I was worried that I was only doing it to release stuff and have it out and have people see it. But like, it was still on my heart to do almost every single day. And so the amount of time that I spent like learning chords and developing um, my songwriting skills, I think ended up really paying off. So by the time that it came for me to record I Don't Really Know, and then I had another break, and then I released Faded Blue, I was like so much more ahead than where I had been. And I feel so much more confident about where I'm at now. I'm now working with a new producer who challenges me even more than ever. And he's so awesome. So the stuff that I'm doing right now is just full of like real life experience, the knowing that I'm writing this music because I just love it and it doesn't have to go anywhere. And I've just learned so much more about like music theory and how to communicate thoughts better, how to organize songs better. And I feel like I'm at a really good place because of that long break that I took. And trust me, I was definitely tempted throughout that break to release songs, but I'm really thankful that I didn't.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I can see a difference between your music then and now, just between like the lyrics. Like I feel like you've gotten so much better at writing lyrics, but like I just love both the old and the new so much.
Yes.
But I can definitely see that a break is always needed
Hmm.
with anything that you do. So, and then sometimes you come back and you're even better at it. So
Yeah.
that's really
I
fun.
I don't mean to dog on my old songs too, because just
Yeah.
saying all these things, like I still love them. I'm still like, oh, like I did that. That's so awesome and sweet. So I don't feel any like I wish I hadn't done all those songs. It's more
Hmm.
just like, oh, I've grown now, and I'm excited to move forward with my growth.
Yeah. Okay. I know this is a hard question for some people, but I was just curious. You can do this between your new or old or whatever. What would you rank your songs from like favorite to least favorite?
Okay, so I actually made notes and wrote this out because I was like, this is an interesting question. So this is my ranking, okay? We're going
Okay.
from my favorite to my least favorite. And I have a lot of songs, so bear with me.
Okay.
Okay, my favorite, Colors of My Past. Second,
Mm,
Yellow Sunlight. Third,
yes.
Violet. Fourth, Faded Blue. Notice how these are all like newer songs. Um, fifth, I Think You're Lying. Sixth, Goodbye. Seventh, Hug. Eighth, I Don't Really Know. Ninth, Without Thinking. And then 10th, By Your Side. And I think that's all of them. That's my ranking.
Okay. Ooh, what would you put where would you put Love for Me?
Oh, I forgot about that song. Um, okay, that song is kind of confusing because it's not available anymore. It's gone. I would say
Yes.
I would say it's somewhere like between 7 and 8 because it is a pretty song.
Okay.
It is a pretty song.
Okay. Okay. I think that's really interesting ranking because I wasn't expecting you to put By Your Side at the end, but I love it.
I like that song, but it's a demo and
Okay.
it's not it's not necessarily finished, and I don't know why I released it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm like I just really wanted to release it because I loved the demo because I was so proud of it because that was the first song that I ever wrote without any co-writers. And so
Mhm.
I was so excited about it. But now looking back, I'm like, the song isn't necessarily like complete in like a studio way. And so I kind of like cringe out a little bit when I listen to it.
Um, do you mind if I rank them too? Like
Oh my
as a
gosh.
listener?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna
This
take notes.
is
I want to know.
okay, this is just off the top of my head. So, right now I love Yellow Sunlight, so that's my top.
That's a good one.
And then I think I would do Goodbye. And then probably I don't really know. No, wait. Okay, yeah. And then Love for Me. I know it's not available, but that was always like my favorite of the old songs.
Mhm.
And then I think I would say Violet. Then Hug and Faded Blue. Or I think I would put Colors of My Past before Faded Blue. I
Mhm.
almost forgot about that one. And then I think By Your No, I forgot I Think You're Lying. I Think You're Lying, By Your Side, and then Without Thinking, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah. That's a valid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I love them. I would have put Colors of My Past higher, but then I forgot about it for a second.
It's okay.
But yeah, okay. Okay, I love that. That was really fun. Okay. Oh yeah, I was going to ask about Love for Me because this was like my favorite song and I was so
Oh
sad. But don't worry, I have it saved on YouTube Music.
no. Perfect.
Like right before Google Play got deleted or shut down, I had it I bought it on there. So I have it and I
Yay.
listen to it sometimes and I love it. But I was going to ask if you could tell us why it got deleted if you can.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry. I'm so
It's
sorry.
okay.
So when I was coming back to music after my long break, I was like looking at everything that I had released and listening through it, and I was just listening to Love for Me, and I think I realized that the message of the song was just not something that I wanted to be out. Like the song is about like self-love and kind of like trying to fix yourself through other people's issues, and it's a very like
Mhm.
complicated song when it comes to like the mental health side of it, and
Mhm.
it's just it's just not something that I felt like was really true to me. And just the things that I was saying, I felt like I wouldn't really have my heart behind those lyrics if I were to have to sing it live in a couple years,
Mhm.
or if I were to ever go on tour or something like that. um I just don't know how I would sing it. And some people could argue that like not every song has to be true to me, and I agree with that. But I think with the idea of like I'm just coming back to music, I really want to kind of curate my music in a way that like I really love and think is awesome. I just didn't want that song kind of like hanging out in my mind because every time I'd listen to it, I was just like, I don't believe what I'm saying about the world. Like I feel like just on a very deep like philosophical level, like I was like I didn't fully know my beliefs at the time and like the way that I needed to kind of view self-love um when I wrote it. And so now knowing what I know, I'm kind of just like, maybe I don't want to say that. So that was kind of the idea of it. But I do think the song was super pretty, and I think there's a YouTube audio clip of it somewhere.
Yes.
So you can
Yes.
still find it. It's not like I'm banishing the song from the world, but um it's definitely been easier not seeing it on my profile.
That was interesting because I was thinking it had to do with like your producer or something, but I totally get that because sometimes you grow out of things and you don't like. No, I get that so much. But yeah, I'm just glad I can still listen to it. That's my
Yeah,
only thing.
yeah.
um okay. What are your hopes and dreams when it comes to your love for music? And do you hope to maybe release an album or go on tour one day? Maybe?
I definitely would love anything with music. Like I'm like, yeah, tour sounds great. Yeah, releasing an album sounds great. Learning how to produce my own music, that sounds great. Um, Opening for people for the rest of my life sounds great. Whatever it is, I don't
Mhm.
know. I try and not plan too far into the future because I
Mhm.
can be an over planner, and so I try and like step back and just be like, I'm just doing this right now because this is what I'm called to do right now. And so I think a very concrete and like reliable answer would be like I want to always be making music and always getting better, and those are my goals right now is like I just want to keep writing songs that I really love.
Mhm.
And I just hope that people continue loving them and liking them, and yeah, those are my goals.
Okay. Yeah, I love that you're not saying anything concrete because you never know what could happen. But I will be there if you ever go on tour, whatever you do, because I just love music and I have so much fun like just driving. Like I went to Texas so much this
Yeah,
past year just for concerts. So,
that's
I'm
awesome.
there.
Yay, well, I'm glad, I'm glad.
Now, I wanted to talk about faith some. So, we're going to move into some faith questions, but I might have some more music questions I didn't add later. I don't know. But, well, this is a music question. But have you ever thought of releasing a worship song?
I'm so excited to answer this. So, okay, I had decided previously that I wasn't going to do worship music because I was like, I don't know that that's my calling and that's a big responsibility. Like, in order to release
Mhm.
worship music, you have to be very firm and you have to, you're becoming a leader. Like, by like releasing worship, you are putting yourself in a position to basically share the gospel, and that's a huge
Mhm.
responsibility. And I just didn't feel like it was like on my heart. But this is so fun. I randomly one evening was like having my like nighttime routine where I meditate and I just like relax and pray, and I started thinking of like worship lyrics, and it was just so out of the blue. Never has happened to me before. And I ran to my piano and I started like coming up with this melody. And then I met with one of my songwriting friends around that time, and we started working on a worship song. Some of it was inspired by the lyrics I had just come up with the other night, but then some of it was just all new stuff. And I started realizing that maybe I do want to release worship music, and my heart to write it has really grown. And
Mhm.
I would say I have about like 2 to 3 worship songs finished, but I don't know where I'll go with that. I don't know if I would release those in an EP or um, kind of how that would look in terms of like my social media and my branding, because that has always been like a no. And so then to add it back in, I don't know what that would look like. But
Mhm.
the answer is yes. I I definitely actually think that I would release worship music. And I feel like I'm ready, and so I don't know when that will happen, but I think that there's a high chance that it will happen.
Okay, I love that answer. I do remember you posting an unreleased song like a while back that was kind of it reminded me a little of a worship song.
Mhm.
I have no idea what it was called, but it was really pretty. So, I think that you could definitely write like a really good worship song and your voice is so beautiful. Like I think that would just be really cool.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Thank you. That's so sweet.
yeah. So I hope you do get the chance to do that, but I also will listen to anything. So So when it comes to your faith, what are some of your favorite ways to spend time with God?
I think definitely listening to worship music in my car. That's a
Mhm.
huge one. I like will have my all of my road rage, all of my like stress of like where I'm coming from, where I'm going to, and pretty much every day I hear this like call that's like, just put on your worship music, you'll be fine. And then I do, and I feel like it's such a sweet time. Like when I pray, a lot of times I just kind of speak like audibly. Um, I don't know why, but it helps me process things better. I think if I'm praying in my head, I like can get distracted easier. And so
Mhm.
it's like being in my car and having that alone time is so wonderful. I also am really into like my night routine. And so I have this little like cozy corner of my house where I can like turn the lights off, and there's this like fluffy mat, and I love stretching. It's just really good for you and it makes me feel good before bed. And so I'll like stretch and just put on worship music and just kind of like pray and relax. And I feel like those are simple ways to kind of include God in your daily life, like right before bed. That's so simple, and it's so beneficial. And then when you're driving, like I'm pretty much always in the car, it feels like. So
Mhm.
yeah, those are simple ways. But then I think when I know I need like a deep dive and like I need more of the Lord than just sitting and reading the Bible. Like you can never do that enough. And I wish I would be better at doing that every single day. And so that's always like my conviction is needing to read the Bible more. But yeah.
Those are some really good ways. And yeah, I agree with the car, just going in the car and listening to music so much because that is what I have to do sometimes. Like, I'll make an excuse to go get coffee and I'll just be like, I'll go listen to worship music on the way. And
Yes.
sometimes it's really relaxing. And then also, like, I love to journal because,
Oh, I
like,
forgot that. Yes.
if I pray in my head, I get distracted, so I like prayer journal and stuff, and
Mhm.
it's really fun. Speaking of which, I love your journals that you made. Um and it also inspired me to make my own. So I made a few. I don't have them right now. I would show you, but I have made some because of you, and so that was really fun.
Oh,
So,
wait, that's
yeah.
awesome. I love that. That's so sweet. I want to make more. I've been thinking about that
Ooh,
recently.
yes. I
Okay.
would love to see more. That would be cool. Okay, what is one of your favorite Bible verses right now and why?
Okay. This is a good question. So, with the idea of worship music, I ran into somebody recently who was trying to challenge me and was basically saying that like worship music isn't worship. And he was trying to redefine worship, and there's no slander against this person. He's great. But I
Mhm.
I went into this deep dive of like, okay, what does it mean to really worship? And I found this verse. Okay, Psalm 51, verse 17. And it says, "My sacrifice, O God, is a broken spirit, a broken and
Yes.
contrite heart. You, God, will not despise." But then I actually have another one.
Okay.
Psalms 57, verse 7. "My heart is steadfast, O God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and give praise." And so I was just really reminiscing on these verses, and like the idea of sacrifice and worship literally being like a broken spirit and a broken heart is so beautiful, because I'm like, that is worship. Like when you
Mhm.
realize that your flesh is so, like we said earlier, so limited and it's just so broken, like that's when your eyes look to the Lord, and that in itself is worship, and you can have that heart posture while you're doing anything. And so then
Mhm.
to bring that heart into music, which is all over the Bible. Music is all over the Bible. All of Psalms is music. Like it's such a beautiful thing when all of that kind of comes together. And um it really reminds me of the value of worship. And I'm really glad that I was able to kind of step into like more research about worship in itself, because of this person who challenged me. So I feel like everything worked out really well.
Mhm.
Just this whole experience has reminded me of like God's goodness.
That's really inspiring. And I always love asking that question because everybody has like different answers. I've never heard anyone say those verses. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
have to go like look those up later and highlight them. Those are really beautiful. What is your biggest tip on navigating faith in a world of social media and hate comments?
That's a good question. So, being on social media for so long, there had to be a point where I created my idea of like my own self,
Mhm.
because at any point social media could be deleted. At any point people could tear me apart, and so I had to establish my ritual for like being sane and being off my phone. And out of all of the things that I've tried, I think the most beneficial thing to do is literally to turn your phone off. Like,
Yes.
you can't sit there deleting every hate comment. You can't sit there refreshing and being anxious and looking at what's being posted, what's being said. Um, and you certainly can't waste 5 hours of your time scrolling reels, because that will make you sad, like without a doubt. Unless there's a bunch of funny dog videos, then maybe it brings you joy. But for the most part, if you are connected to your phone like it's a friend, like it's a part of you, you are not going to have an idea of self. And
Mhm.
basically for me, I will schedule quality time with people, either a friend, my parents, my brothers. I'll be like, hey, let's go do this, or let's hang out, and I'll leave my phone. Like, I'll leave it in my purse if we're somewhere public, or I'll leave it in my room if we're just at my house. And there are so many days where I barely think about my phone, or like I'll go to post something and then immediately turn it off and run the other way and go and do something. Um, I think what's so important is having an actual life full of abundance and activity and love and people. And I think that having that in your life, will always make up for the fact that there's a lot of trashiness on the internet, because you're growing and you're being loved in real life, and so that always triumphs whatever you're experiencing on your phone. And I've seen this in
Mhm.
my life, like when I have seasons of my life where I feel like I'm attached to my phone, it's never as good as when I'm fully present and I'm fully spending time in my real life. So you have to make that split and have boundaries with your phone. I think that that's like the only way to kind of be sane in this world.
That is like the best advice ever. Like, I love that so much. Cause yeah, and like even if like I don't think I've ever gotten any hate comments, but sometimes I just get so caught up on like Instagram and just
Mhm.
looking at everything, and I have to set my phone down.
Mhm.
And so, oh my goodness, like that is the best advice, because I think our phones are such a distraction from everyday life, and it
Yes.
really does like feel so much better to just set it down and not think about it.
Mhm.
And so I completely agree, and I think everyone listening needs to like remember this and like make it like a New Year's resolution, because
Mhm.
it's so easy to get like so distracted and caught up on everything on your phone. But you
Mhm.
got to remember that there's life to be living and things to be doing. And yes, spending time with friends is another way like to help you forget about it. Like I'll do that. Like whenever I hang out with someone, I don't even look at my phone cuz
Mhm.
I'm so in the moment. So I love thank you so much for saying that.
Yes. And it's hard, like there are times where my phone is blowing up, but it's like 10 p.m.
Mhm.
and I need to go to sleep, or like I need to have my time with God and like winding down. And I'll have to put my phone on do not disturb, but then I will check it. Like, and I will be like, I need to see what's going on. And
Mhm.
so it's definitely a constant battle, but I think deep down I think everyone knows that their phone is not necessarily good for them. And
Mhm.
so we need to like identify that and then just realize the truth of like it isn't good for you, and it's not bringing you life. And so just setting the right boundaries, like that is a perfect New Year's resolution, like you said.
Yes.
It's so important.
Yeah, cause I've found that, like, if I put my phone in another room and, like, go to work on something on my computer, cause I'm a writer, so I'm, like, always trying like, I'll be sit down to write and then I get on my phone. So if I set it in another room, I realize I completely forget it exists, and then I'm
Yes,
just
that's so nice.
focused.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness, it's really nice to just unplug for a while.
Mhm.
Okay, how do you stay in the Word every week and keep God a constant in your life?
um so apart from the other things that we mentioned, I also feel like one thing that really helps is just fellowshipping with other believers and
Yes.
having really productive conversations with people that love you about like your struggles or the things that you're learning, and just having like basically a soundboard. There's like nothing more fulfilling than like a long conversation with a friend about like your
Mhm.
feelings about the world and about God. And I just always come away from those kinds of conversations feeling very loved and fulfilled and like ready for the world. And so I think just all of the basics, honestly, like continuing being in worship, reading the Bible, being in fellowship, like if you're doing those three things weekly, you're going to be a much better person and you're going to have a lot more joy.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm always agreeing with people on here because everyone has so many good things to say. And it's really good to be reminded of stuff like that. But yes, I really love that answer and I would completely agree with you. Now, this is an interesting question that I ask people sometimes, but it's always gives me a good answer, like, and really good advice for me.
Mhm.
So, what advice would you give your younger self if you could?
I think there's definitely a lot of things that come to mind. I would probably say two things. One, just not to be so worried. And like I would say this to me now.
Mhm.
Um the Bible literally says like it doesn't add a second to our day when we worry. And we're just not supposed to. Like we're not supposed to be worried. And that is very hard. I think when I was little, I had a lot of stresses in my life because of like the career path that I chose at such a young age. And I I definitely wish I had been less hard on myself to enjoy it even more. But that's also me speaking to myself now. Like I still am
Mhm.
hard on myself and I still worry. And so I feel like that's a constant learning. I'm constantly learning how to not worry and how to depend on God. And then two, I would say to be discerning about who I let into like my life, because I'm also learning this year, so I guess not much has changed. But I am a very trusting person and very like overwhelmingly into my relationships with other people. And I think that I'm realizing that like there are actually people who don't have your best interest. And like I always
Mhm.
hear that and I know it, but I don't think that I know it. I definitely just trust that everybody is good. And I don't know why, but I think that that is like my temptation as a person. And so um I think that it is okay to not be 100% inclusive all the time, to not be 100% like there for everybody. I think that it's okay to pick the people you can actually trust, pick the people who actually love you and who are giving in the relationship, um, and to kind of rely on other people and to expect goodness from other people, um,
Mhm.
because I have value, they have value, we all have value. And so don't be in relationship with people who make you doubt that, um, and who it kind of feels like a one-way street with. I think that a lot of hard situations in my life would have been avoided if I had better discernment about who I'm trusting in my life. And that's not to say be a critic, like be this cautious, angry old person who's like, everyone's gonna hurt me. Like, not that at all. Because we're called to love everybody. But I think it is, like I said, it is okay to be picky about the people in your life because you should be.
Mhm.
You should be.
Oh my goodness, yes. And when you said like worrying about things, that was me last year. Like I would always say I'm such an overthinker, like if you don't respond to me, I'm going to overthink it, or
Hmm.
all of these different mindsets. And I finally realized I don't have to be an overthinker. I'm just telling myself that I'm overthinking everything and then I'm doing it. So I started to change my mindset and not rely so heavily on the people around me to like constantly be like responding. Like I
Hmm.
realized that everyone has their own lives and like with me, texting just became such like a stressful thing, and I had to like step back and remember like it's okay if someone doesn't respond to you a
Mhm.
minute later. You don't have to worry about it. And I know there are like so many things that people are worrying about constantly in life. And so sometimes you have to like step back and find your boundaries with
Mhm.
people and with things. So, yes, that is really good
Mhm.
advice for your younger self and for us right now, too, because
Yes.
there's always something that we're going to need to like set a boundary for. And remember,
Mm.
it's not always a big deal.
Correct.
Okay, I have one last thing. I think, unless I come up with something else. Okay, I wanted to say that you were just an inspiration for many girls, like I just know it, out there who watch your YouTube videos and just listen to your music. And thank you for always just being so positive and showing people that being yourself is one of the most important things, because you really are like so authentic in your videos. And I wanted to know if there are any people who like specifically inspire you to live life the way you do and to keep being yourself.
Ooh. Well, thank you. That is really like encouraging. Um, it's definitely easy to just create content and forget that people are watching. Um,
Mhm.
I forget that I have an influence sometimes, and so every time I'm reminded of that, it is so helpful because kind of a little bit what I was talking about earlier with like worship and stuff. It's like even just being online is kind of a place of leadership because like the things that I say a multitude of people can hear and can affect them, um versus the person who's like not on social media and they're only affecting a small amount of people, which is just as impactful. But I forget that like I have people who are listening to what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So just thank you, and it is such a blessing like to have this platform. And I honestly have to owe a lot of like the idea of like being authentic and just being who I am to my parents
Mhm.
because they're just like they're so awesome. Like I am so grateful for them every single day because they are constantly reminding me to be authentic and just to do the things that are on my heart. And so when I'm worried about like, well, where's this going or what am I doing this for and that kind of thing, both my parents are very just like, but you just have to because this is who you are. And um they help me through lots of hard situations and stuff. And so I would probably say them, honestly. Like, there's not a specific person outside of them that I can think about really because they just impact me so much and I go to them for so much. And yeah, they've just been a huge part of my life and in my growth. And they're very invested in me and which is hard. You know, there's six of us, and so for them to be able to be as invested in me as they are with all of my other siblings, I think is a superpower. And yeah, I just owe a lot to them for sure.
Yes. And I can see that just like watching your videos. I can see how your parents would be such a big inspiration because they raised you. And I think that they raised you really well, because just like watching your channel, your positivity and everything. So
Aw.
thank you. Thank you to Annie's parents.
Yes, thank you guys.
And I also really love what your sister Lily is doing too. Like
Mhm.
speaking up about like important matters and stuff is just so encouraging to see. And so, yeah, yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Okay, I wanted to ask one more music related thing
Okay.
before we end the recording. Um, you said that you might have some new music coming. Can you
Yes.
tell us anything about that? Any teasers or anything?
Ooh. Okay, so I have two more songs coming in my Colors of My Past series that will complete an EP. And
Yay!
one of them, I think I've already announced the name. It's Rose. The song
I
is
was thinking I was gonna be it.
yeah. I love this song. I finished it literally this week. And so that song is really different from the others. It's piano, it's slower, it's a love song, so it's not so sad, and I love it. I actually am so proud of it. And then the other one, I'm gonna remain a secret, but it's gonna
Okay.
be very awesome. And I think my intent is to release both of these songs at the same time to kind of finish out the project with a bang. And I will say, the last time I went to record demos, which is like the process before you get to recording a song, like for real, I recorded 10 demos. So
Wow.
that's not promising that I'm going to come out with 10 songs
Yeah.
quickly, but that's saying that I have 10 really good options for my batch of songs after my Colors of My Past series. So there's a lot going on. I'm writing all the time, and you can definitely expect that I'm not going to disappear anytime soon.
That's good to know. Okay, I have a guess on the other one, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to see I'm gonna see if I'm right. But yes, I thought Rose would be one of the songs, and I think that one is so perfect, like because your name's like Annie Rose, like it just
Yeah,
goes along with your personality so
I'm really
much.
excited about that.
It's so pretty. Okay, I'm very excited for both of those songs, completing the EP. I'm very excited for all of that. Um, okay, well, it was a pleasure talking to you today. This that was all of my questions. Uh, do you want to just tell everyone where they can follow you?
Sure. So my social media is all at Annie Rose. My Instagram is It's Annie Rose. My YouTube channel is actually just Annie, but it's easier if you type in Annie Rose, because if you type in Annie, the Orphan Annie musical will come up. So Annie Rose is good across all platforms.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again for being on, and yeah, I think we're gonna end the recording here. So,
Bye.
bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Quoted Podcast. Come back next Thursday for more.